Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video by yours truly. Today we got a tier list for the Memory of Chaos. Now I've spent an embarrassing amount of time hard stuck on floor 9 of the Memory of Chaos because I spent a little bit too much resources trying to get people relics instead of trying to get their traces and their level up to 80. But it is what it is. Because I've spent so much time, I've got an incredible amount of insight as to who you should be building up to clear the upper floors of the Memory of Chaos. In fact, all of the Memory of Chaos. And we're going to go over that today and also explain why people are where they are in the tier list. Also, speaking of which, there's been a lot of talk calling characters trash, such as Herta, calling characters like Himiko trash. One thing that I always say, don't listen to the community. Nobody knows what the hell they're talking about most of the time. And the reason I say that is because most of these people will take a context. For example, they'll take the last Memory of Chaos, which Herta wasn't good in. Himiko wasn't good in, probably. And they'll say, yeah, this character's trash indefinitely. Like they'll just put them in a box and say they suck. But what these people fail to realize is that there are scenarios, and the Memory of Chaos is ever changing. Scenarios, variables, all types of things are going to change as each Memory of Chaos comes in. They'll change up the enemies, they'll change up the weakness to the different elements. There's many variables that go into whether a character is going to perform amazingly or they're going to perform horribly. But that does not define them as a horrible character indefinitely. But that's what people love to do. So what I want you to take away from this is that the Memory Chaos is ever changing, and whatever you see on this tier list can very well change in the next update, 1.2, 1.3, so on and so forth. Now, I would like to reiterate one more time, this tier list is based off of Memory of Chaos version 1.1 and it can absolutely change in further versions. With that being said, before you start typing out on the keyboard and disagreeing or agreeing or whatever the case may be, allow me to at least articulate my viewpoints and why I place people where I place them. Go ahead and start off with these two. The reason they are in a league of their absolute own is this Memory of Chaos is just particularly tailor-made for luocha, and Silverwolf is just so damn broken it doesn't matter what. I honestly don't think it matters what Memory of Chaos gets thrown out there. She's always going to find a place to literally provide value on any team that she's on, for the most part. There are some scenarios where it can be problematic with her. Generally, those scenarios are if nobody's weak to the quantum element, and then your main DPS, they're also not weak to their element as well. So you put her on that team, and it's a 50-50 on whether she's going to apply quantum and or the main DPS element. But that's entirely up to you for you to decide on. So that shouldn't be a problem is what I'm trying to say. But other than that, she is literally a god tier character. It's no exaggeration that she's that damn good. She really is. If you have her, your value's going up through the roof. Memory of Chaos becomes much easier. Some main DPS that won't work on a particular floor are going to work on that floor just because of her if they're weak to the quantum element. So luocha, the reason that he is so valuable is because a lot of the units in the upper floors put on buffs that are very problematic. For an example, there's this one douchebag that you're going to run into over and over and over again. And I mean, this dude, you run into him more than you run into Hilly Trails at Genshin Impact. You're going to run into this man running more than you run into your rent on the first of every single month. This dude keeps popping up and he's fucking cringe. And he literally can heal himself if his units can come back to life. Speaking of which, his units can come back to life. And somebody like luocha can literally pop their ult and debuff all that shit. It's just an incredibly broken healing character that's going to be incredibly beneficial no matter what circumstance when you come to run into somebody like that. There's other people who get buffs as well that he can debuff with his ult. His debuff is literally one of the most broken things. When he pops his ult, he deals damage, applies imaginary toughness, and then he even removes the buffs on the units. It's crazy. So he's a divine tier healer just because of that alone. And with regards to the S tier units, the reason Scylla is still S tier is because a lot of the units in the upper floors are also still weak to quantum. And if they're weak to quantum, obviously she's a phenomenal unit to utilize. Not to mention her synergy with Silverwolf is that much more valuable. So she's still a top shelf unit that can be utilized in most of the floors except floor 10. You can't really use her on floor 10. It's a very heavy wind and wind, lightning, and then wind imaginary is the floor 10 floor. But floor 9 and I think floor 7 and floor 6, she can be used on all three of those. So she's just top shelf. Same thing with Jing Yuan. He can be utilized on floor 10 first half. He can be utilized on floor 9. He can be second half, although Seal is a little bit better than him because every single unit is literally weak to quantum on floor 9. But Jing Yuan is a erudition unit that just kills everybody. I literally 3-starred every single floor up to the 7th floor All 7 floors got 3-star, and I used Jing Yuan, I think, on every single floor, even if they weren't weak to his element, thanks to Silver Wolf. So he's a absolute spectacular unit as well. These two are still basically at the top of the meta. Yang Xing is really, really good. The fact that he is a free-to-play 5-star unit and is performing the way he's performing is just absolutely ridiculous. He literally is beneficial on like 85% of all the floors. And you can be used on floor 10. He can be used on floor 9. He can be used on floor 8. Like this dude, you can just put him in there and he's going to pop off, especially if you have Silver Wolf to kind of manipulate their weakness to the ice element. The only thing I don't recommend using him against is the ice out of space guy, because you cannot freeze him with Yang Xing, so it makes it useless, because the ice out of space dude needs to be delayed at all costs so that he's not freezing your team. And Yang Xing is completely useless against him. There's also some scenarios where the units aren't weak to quantum or ice, where you won't be able to manipulate him into that either. So there are some scenarios, but Yang Xing is top of the line, strong, and I highly recommend investing in him if you have him for the Memory of Chaos. Now you might be asking yourself, why is Dan Heng so high up on the list? It's literally just because of floor 8 is heavily influenced with the wind element. Floor, both sides, by the way. Now you can get away with fire on this side, but he is not only on floor 8, floor 10, which I can't show you right now, is heavily wind influenced. And the only wind DPS in the entire game right now is Dan Heng. Sampo is not a wind DPS, is a wind nihility that can apply the dots. And unfortunately, we're missing an important and imperative synergistic piece for Sampo to actually pop off. And she's sexy as hell and she hasn't came out yet. So until she comes out, Sampo is just really hard to make work right now. But don't worry, Sampo, man, his time is coming. But floor 8 and floor 10, they are heavily wind influenced. And if you have a very well built Dan Heng, he's going to apply a ton of value. So believe it or not, my man is actually S tier, also because he's the only option we have. Any team you use, for the most part, is always going to have Ting Yun and or Branya. And or Asta. These 3 are always going to be S tier. They're supportive units that pretty much make your main DPS stronger or your erudition path character stronger, your AoE character. So they're always going to be S tier because of that. So yeah, it's kind of a given. I don't really need to explain their value. I think everybody knows how good these characters actually are. Welt, an imaginary character, and all of the upper path floors, for the most part, every single one of them is weak to the imaginary unit. So pairing him with Luocha is going to be a massive W for a lot of you guys. Not to mention his debuff is very good, and he's a nihility path character who's also capable of dealing good AoE damage when well invested. So Welt is also an S tier character. Finally, Japard, he is the best tank in the game. And he's also ice and very synergistic with Yang Xing. So he honestly, he's floating somewhere between the A and S tier for me, but I put him in S tier just because when I run Yang Xing, I always run him with Japard. Japard is just too valuable. He keeps Yang Xing's buffs perma uptime, and there's a lot of floors where Yang Xing pops off. So I think he's S tier for that matter. Now, you guys might be surprised because remember, everybody, almost every single tier list had Herta down here or next to, or down here. They had Xing Shui down here, C or D tier. Himiko down there, C or D tier. Clara down in B or C or D tier. In this 1.1 version, I shit you not, Herta is debatably up here. I swear to God, she is debatably up here. I'm putting her down here just because I'm still in kind of disbelief myself. But truth be told, the reason she is so good is the same reason Luocha is so good. You keep running into that same guy. Let's go ahead and go over here and tell you who I'm talking about, by the way. This is the dude I'm talking about. This is the douchebag. And then he summons his little lackeys. Can I go to floor 9 here real quick? He summons his little lackeys, these guys right here. And they're real problematic because they come back to life. He heals when they come back to life. You might be thinking, just use Pella. Pella can only debuff one person. Furthermore, she doesn't deal AoE, so the lackey ads are still alive and they're coming at you, bro. They're popping off. So yes, Pella is useful, but Herta is better, just outright better. Why? Herta, when well invested, if you build your Herta like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, I mean, she's well built. She is going to literally one tap all of them and then ult and kill them all again. Not to mention, she's also contributing to the main DPS of this guy right here because he's also weak to the ice element. This guy is also weak to the ice element. So Herta, unfortunately, right now, out of all the characters available, she's the only ice erudition character available to really be put to use. So trust me when I tell you, she's very freaking good against this dude right here. She's very good for floor 9. She is literally top 2 characters to utilize for floor 9 first half. And then, as I told you before, on floor 10, this douchebag right here pops up again. Yes, he does. I'm telling you, he keeps popping up. He pops up on floor 10, he pops up on floor 9, and then he pops up on floor 8 too, I believe. Yeah, floor 8. Look, he's right here again. I'm telling you, I wouldn't lie to you, bro. That man keep popping up. And Herta is literally like an ultimate counter for him because she can kill all his ads, get rid of his debuff by killing those ads, and then she can contribute to damage towards him as well. Not to mention, she's not greedy, so she won't get in the way of your main DPS. You can still build your main DPS in addition to having Herta on the team. So ideally for floor 8, floor 9, and floor 8 and floor 9 for sure. Floor 8 and floor 9, you could literally do Yang Xing, Herta, Japard, and a Ting Yun, or you can do Dan Hang, Herta, Japard, and a Ting Yun, or you also use March. March is also good too. The only reason she's in the B tier is because we have if you have Japard, she's just not as good as Japard, but she's still really good. In fact, March 7th is debatably, depending on how many Eidolons you have of her, she's debatably in the A tier for the Freeze team comps. Literally the one woman wonder. She can pop off on any floors where they're weak to the physical element. Floor 10, you're going up against Kafka. She's weak to the physical element, and there's just a ton of floors where she comes in. She's like the perfect support DPS in this game when people are weak to the physical element, especially if you have her at E1. If you have her at E1, bro, Yang Xing, I mean, not Yang Xing, Su Shang. Su Shang is like S tier in my personal opinion at E1. She pops off, bro, and she doesn't take away your skill points, which is incredibly valuable of her. So there's going to be some floors where she brings the value, and if you have her built, she's going to pop off. Now, these two right here, Himiko, people were talking shit about her. Again, coming back to floor 9, if you have a Himiko, a Asta, and a Hook built up, the Mono Pyro Fire team, they will literally mop this floor up. They will mop it up. They might even outperform a Sela team. I know that's a hot take, but I'm telling you, these Erudition Path characters for this 1.1 is absolutely insane. So for that matter, she's in the A tier, potentially again in the S tier. So do not sleep on these two right here for floor 9 Memory of Chaos. I'm telling you, they're very strong. In any floor where there's a bunch of fire weak people, if there's a bunch of people weak to fire, her, Asta, and Hook, well invested, chef's kiss, GG's, I promise. And finally, we have Clara. Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't spent a ton of time with Clara. It's possible that she's higher. It's possible that she might even be better than Su Shang. I don't think she is. I really don't. Su Shang is like a different beast, but it is possible. I'll go ahead and tell you, I haven't spent a lot of time with her. I have played with her. I do know how she works. But there's certain variables, like I really have to spend a lot of time with a character to be able to give you a definitive answer. And because I haven't done that with her, we'll just say she can potentially be, I don't know, B, A, or S tier. I don't know. Now, moving on to Oh Girl. The reason I have her in B tier, for the people who are already offensive, for the people who have her tits in their mouth daily before they wake up for breakfast. Relax, bro. The reason she's in B tier is because the lightning element, although it's on floor 10, she is somebody who, much like Sampo, her true value is going to shine once Kafka releases. Her value right now is decent. You can make the debate that she should be in the A tier, but Jing Yuan is just so much stronger than her. I don't give a damn what spreadsheets you've been looking at, what they've been telling you, what kind of copious bullshit they've been telling you. She is not touching Jing Yuan right now. But when Kafka comes out, her value will skyrocket because Kafka will be able to amplify her dots on top of the damage she's already doing. She'll be much stronger. Until then, she's sitting in the B tier, bro. She ain't in the back with Amber, but she in the back with like Kaya. All right, moving on. We got Pella. Pella, again, she is very valuable against this same freaking douchebag right here. But the fact of the matter is Pella cannot deal AoE. Her ult does no damage. It's really for defense shred. And she does deal good damage with her skill and her auto attack. But again, that's only one person. By that time, those ads are already applying those freaking wind shear dots, these little douchebags. She's just not good as Herta in this scenario. She's more, Pella's an amazing unit, but she's going to accelerate in a scenario where it's like 1 or 2 people out there, not when there's like 5 people out there, 6 people out there. Moving on, again, March 7th, at higher investment, I'll put her up here, no doubt about it. And again, the healers, they're actually necessity units, right? These healers, I put them in B tier just because like, you know, they're necessities. You can literally put these healers up here depending on your account. Like dead ass, like her, these two could very well be up here depending on your account. But I mean, I put them back here just because they're healers that they don't really do anything more. She does dispel debuffs, right? So her value could be, again, anywhere over here. It's not even really worth talking about, guys, right? You put them wherever the hell you want to put them. Finally, the physical Trailblazer. I don't know. The problem with the Trailblazer, and Fire Trailblazer included. The Fire Trailblazer, you can make the argument that they can be here. You can make the argument that maybe they can be up here. But both the physical Trailblazer and the Fire Trailblazer have a bit of an identity crisis. I'm not sure what the hell I need to do with them. Like, they provide value. They can, the Destruction Path physical character can like deal some damage here and there. It does a ton of shield break damage. But he's not competing with Su Shang. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. And then the Fire Trailblazer, it's a tank, but they're not a tank. They can taunt, but they can't protect your team from AoE. So it's like if you run the Fire Trailblazer, you also have to run it with a healer, which takes away from like buff opportunities. That's why I put them in the B tier. I'm just not really a big fan of their kit compared to the other options available. Finally, we got Sampo. Again, guys, Sampo right now is just in a tough spot. But trust me when I tell you, when Kafka drops, Sampo's value is going to come up here. Bare minimum, he's gonna be about up in here. But I truly think with Kafka, I think he's going to be up here. We'll see what happens. I could be wrong. To finish this off, I think Yukong, when she does release, she's going to be another buffer who's probably going to play somewhere up in here, unless the problem of not being able to manage her buff, since it's only a 2-turn thing, that could very well be problematic, and maybe she can drop down here. But I'm thinking within the right hands, Yukong might end up here. We'll see what happens. I could be wrong, guys. And that's going to wrap up my tier list for the Memory of Chaos. Hopefully you guys found some value from this. We will be updating y'all when we clear the entire chaos. Once this shit resets, which it resets tomorrow, I am actually going to build up my Herta. I'm going to finish building up my Dan Heng. He's already pretty well built. And those are two that I think I only need. I only need those two. Once I finish building those two characters up, I should be able to like 3-star all the floors. Of course, I'm going to work on all my other units like here and there as well. But I should be able to 3-star all the floors without even picking up luocha. We'll see what happens. Y'all take care. I'll catch you on the flip side.